Hello, everybody. My name is Brinton. I am on Team Handshake. I lead student marketing efforts and events here, and I am so excited to have you join us today. I use she, her pronouns, and I just want to give some quick notes before we get started with this panel. We're going to have about 20 minutes of discussion with our fabulous guests today, and then we'll save about 10 minutes at the end for questions from you, the audience. So please feel free to use that Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen, and we will do the best we can to answer as many of those as possible before we wrap up today. As a quick reminder, you won't be able to see submitted questions until we mark them as answered, so please don't think we're ignoring you. It's working. You're submitting your questions. We see them, but we often get a lot of questions to parse through, so we will try our best to get to as many as we can. All right, now that housekeeping note is out of the way, we know that fall recruitment and the busy hiring season is fully underway, and it can be really daunting to see so many different openings across so many different industries. And this event is part of our Role Spotlight series that gives folks firsthand accounts of some really amazing positions and career paths that are out there. Today's panelist is a marketer here at Handshake, as well as an associate therapist at the Haven at college. And so with that, Miranda, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the projects that you're currently working on?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Brinton. I'm so excited that you all are here today. Thanks for joining. My name is Miranda Ordoñez. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm a full-time marketer on the EDU side at Handshake, and I am a part-time associate therapist, as Brinton said, at the Haven at College, which is an outpatient program. I currently work at USC, and I work with USC and Stanford students. And it's for college students, undergrad, graduate, PhD, fellowship, who are struggling with mental health and or substance use issues. So I'm actually a double alumna from my alma mater. I went to Loyola Marymount University, and I studied entrepreneurship and dance, which is different from what I do now, and I know we'll get into that. And then I just graduated with my master's in mental health counseling in May, also from LMU, so go Lions. And at Handshake, I'm currently and honestly always working on creating meaningful events for our career services partners, writing content that highlights what they're doing really well, like getting you all hired, and then just kind of celebrating them any chance I get. So that's really important to me. And then at the Haven, I'm working on equipping my clients with tools to have some confidence, to tolerate distress, and to solve their problems in a way that's authentic to them.
Amazing. I'm so excited to talk more about your journey. When I found out that you were also pursuing your master's while you were working here at Handshake and, had this entire separate career path in addition to what you do here, I was just so impressed, and I remain impressed to this day, and I'm super excited to talk about that. So let's start with the first things first. Can you talk us through what your average day-to-day looks like as a marketer during the day and a therapist by night?
Yes. So honestly, I feel like I'm just reading my calendar when I answer this question because today is kind of an average day. So it usually starts with an 8 a.m. individual session with a client. Again, I work with college students, so I work around their school schedules. So got some early risers, an 8 a.m. individual session. Then it's pretty much Handshake for the rest of the morning, meetings, focus time, getting things done. Then I'll usually have a midday meeting with the Haven, whether that's supervision, I'm being supervised, right, while I'm still gaining my clinical hours, or maybe it's a team treatment meeting. So that'll happen kind of midday. Then it's back to Handshake for the rest of the afternoon. And then I log off at about 6 p.m. And then I will have a 2-hour group therapy session that I facilitate. And some of those are in person, some are virtual.
Wow. I am super impressed that you can fit all of that into your calendar. And, I want to talk through some of the challenges and roadblocks that might come with kind of having this dual career path. Aside from scheduling and managing your time, are there any specific challenges that you've encountered working in kind of two entirely separate spheres simultaneously?
Yes. The answer is yes. I think the number one thing is compartmentalizing. It's really, really, really challenging, but the most important skill, I would say. Um, I really care about my clients, like most therapists do. And sometimes hearing what they've been through or what they're currently navigating obviously will stick with me through the rest of the day, which is natural. However, it's not my their problems are not my problems, right? And I cannot go out of my way to solve their problems the way I would solve my own. So it's really important to compartmentalize what I've just heard and the support I've offered, and then be able to switch to making a deck or a spreadsheet for my handshake role. So it's really, really important to be able to give the respect and the time it deserves to each role, and then to be able to switch and go on to the next one. Obviously, Brenton just mentioned like scheduling and time management. That's obviously a big one. I would also add prioritization. So I have a lot of loyalty to my work as a marketer. I've been in marketing for 10 years. I love my job at Handshake, and I take it really seriously. And sometimes the things my clients are going through are a threat to their safety, something that requires like an SOS, we gotta focus on this right now type of moment. So it is a challenge to prioritize my known responsibilities, what I need for myself, what my clients need from me, what my teammates are expecting from me at Handshake. So really just learning how to prioritize and reprioritize until I find something that fits daily.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to is to call out is the prioritization aspect of it, particularly with such impactful and important work when it comes to individual safety related to your therapy work. I want to circle back to your intro when you were talking about your undergrad degree. I know that nobody's path is completely straight. So, can you talk a little bit about how, if at all, what you're doing today aligns with what you thought you would be doing when you started your career path back in college?
Yes, I love this question. At face value, there is no alignment at all. Um, I studied entrepreneurship and dance. My parents are successful business owners. I love movement. So I thought, okay, makes sense. I want to own and operate my own dance studio. It's fully what I thought all throughout undergrad that I was going to do. That being said, if I zoom out of my major and the classes I took and the specific roles I've worked in, the problems that I have been passionate about solving have remained the same, and it actually makes perfect sense for me. I wanted to create a safe space for people to be able to express themselves. I wanted to help people build mastery and confidence. I wanted to use my creativity and my logic to make people's lives easier. And I truly believe I'm doing all of that now. So while the actual like resume maybe doesn't have a straight line from A to Z, the things I've been engaging in, the things that light me up, the problems that I want to solve, like I said, have all remained the same and have only gotten stronger over time.
I love that so much, and finding the through line to your core values and your purpose, I think is a really important thing to do throughout your career, right? And so even if what you had in mind at the very beginning of your journey doesn't necessarily on paper align exactly with what you're doing now, understanding how you've been driven throughout your career path is a really essential conversation to continue to have with yourself. Awesome. So I know we have a lot of folks on the line who are probably interested, if not, even if they're not interested in both career paths that you have for themselves, or might be interested in one or the other, whether getting started as a marketer, getting started in therapy. Can you talk a little bit about tips for folks who are looking to gain entry level experience in marketing? And then, as a second part of that question, any tips for starting out a career as a therapist?
Yes. So my best advice, really, this is like generally speaking, but I'll apply it more to my marketing career. It's so important to become hyper aware of what you're good at, what you want to learn, and what you are unwilling to do. So, every single company or brand requires marketing. So it's not like, anyone who wants to be a marketer out there, you will never have a shortage of jobs to sift through. But each marketing job is this really wild and unique mix of digital marketing, print marketing, events, social media, speaking engagements, things like that. And so if you know already what you're so good at, what you're interested in learning, and what you are unwilling to do, it will help you narrow down your search. And I think it's also in the same vein of knowing what you're good at. Keeping a portfolio of your best work is so important. I remember my very first job post grad. Well, it was an internship. Uh, I'll explain this quickly. Oh, it's so fun. I wish we had more time. But my very first job post grad, I was the executive assistant to Debbie Allen. And if she's in her 70s, so I do not expect you all to know her. But if you watch Grey's Anatomy, she's Dr. Catherine Avery on Grey's. And I was her executive assistant. I became her executive assistant because I took a dance workshop there when I was a rising junior at LMU. And I thought, hey, I really like the vibes here. So I walked up to her and asked her for a job, and she said no. She said, we're not hiring and we don't have an internship program. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to show up on Monday. And if I do a bad job, you can send me home. And we both laughed about it, but only one of us was serious. And I'll give you a guess on who that was. So I did in fact show up on Monday because I thought, okay, I don't know anything about marketing in a dance studio. I don't know other than being a consumer of dance classes. I don't know what they would need. There is no internship program to speak of. So I really did just show up and I just started working there. And it took about a week for her to notice. And she came and looked at me and said, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm her new intern. And I was her intern for 2 years. And then I was her assistant for 2 years after that. And I knew that what I was good at was talking to people. I knew I was good at putting myself in the room. I knew I was good at being resourceful and creative. And the rest of it had no idea. Knew I was willing to learn all of those things. And at that time, I was 20s. There was not anything I was unwilling to learn at that time. But all of that to be said, learn what you're good at, focus on that, learn what you find interesting and seek those opportunities out, and keep a log of your best writing, your coolest marketing campaigns, the most awesome social media posts you've designed, or even captions that you've crafted. All of that is mega important. And then to become a therapist, my answer is much shorter. Ask yourself why you want to become a therapist and be so brutally honest about it. It is a very, very hard job, and it requires a lot of empathy and a lot of patience. And your why, whether that's like, my friends tell me I give really good advice, I'm an awesome active listener, I want to uplift people in a certain demographic. Those are all fine reasons to start. But whatever that why is, that's what's going to get you through paying thousands of dollars to get your master's, going through an unpaid internship to be eligible for graduation, seeking a therapy role that is aligned with your values. So that why needs to be strong as hell. So that's my best advice.
I wish we had 2 hours to kind of unpack all of the things that you just shared. The Debbie Allen piece, how have we been on many, many calls together and I've never heard this before? I love the resourcefulness. Love the like go get it attitude and just recognizing your own strengths and being willing to kind of like put your feet to the pavement and prove that. And I also again, centering yourself on your intentions and your why, I think as the kind of guiding light for any career decision, but particularly something as important and tough as therapy work, I think is essential. So thank you for talking through both of those. Okay, so given your background as a therapist who works primarily with college students or folks in kind of the college ecosystem, do you have any advice for folks out there about protecting their mental health while they're in the job search and beginning their careers?
Boy, do I. Yes. One word, gonna say it 3 times for emphasis. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. This is a huge buzzword right now, and I'm so thrilled that the youth is discussing boundaries. And I want to get on my soapbox for 2 seconds and kind of like dispel a myth. So I want to give you an example. Here I am on a panel with you all. Let's say my girlfriend is texting me incessantly, right? I hear buzz, buzz, buzz on my phone. I may set a boundary with her by saying, you can't text me during work hours anymore. Might sound like a boundary, but I'm actually trying to control her behavior. What an actual boundary would be is I am going to focus on work during the work hours. So I'm going to set my phone to do not disturb. You can text me as much as you like, but I'm not going to respond until after work hours. That is a boundary. Boundaries are how we react to other instances, situations, other people's behavior. It's not control of others, right? So in a job search, that may be like, okay, I'm really freaking out about this role that I really want, right? My boundary is if I have not heard back from the recruiter within 2 weeks, I'm going to accept that non-response as a response and I'm going to move on to my next option. If you're already starting your career, maybe that looks like, okay, really want to do well here and I need to keep myself healthy. So I am going to log off at 7 p.m. no matter what, or whatever time makes sense for you, right? No matter what. I swear the work will still be waiting for you tomorrow. So boundaries are vital for your health and for the health of your career. So super, super important to zero in on that and to get clear on what a boundary actually is.
Okay, drag me. That's fine. Thank you. I feel like I'm learning a lot here as well. We're already getting a ton of questions too, and I want to make sure that we like make the space to get to those. But I would love to talk through some of the skills and misconceptions that, are really essential for folks who are in their kind of early career path. So I know folks out there are always looking to develop applicable skills. Are there any that you rely on super frequently in both settings for marketing and for therapy that might surprise our audience?
Yes. Well, I don't know if they're going to surprise you. I wrote down three. Two, I feel like you're going to get, and one you're going to be like, huh? So the two that you're going to get are discipline and resourcefulness, right? Discipline is vital. It's vital. And it is something you can teach, which is exciting. So don't feel like, oh, I don't really feel like I'm a disciplined person. That's okay. You have time, right? No worries. But proving to yourself that you can and will do what you say you're going to do will pay off forever. It is so cool to show up for yourself. And it takes practice and time, but discipline for sure. Resourcefulness, as we talked about, right? If you're trying to figure out something at work, you may need to pull from an article, a Slack from a year ago. You may need to tap a coworker. You may need to Google something or chat GPT something. That's okay. Hardly any problem has one clean, clear-cut solution. You're gonna need to put together some jigsaw pieces to be able to figure out what's going on. And that's being resourceful. The one that might surprise you that I use all the time is reality acceptance. That's a big one. So first of all, like the boundaries caveat I'm going to give, reality acceptance does not mean that you like your reality or that you co-sign your reality or that you wish for it to continue. Okay. It just means you are taking the phrase, it is what it is, for what it is. I'll give a brief example. Pretend that you want to make a really good breakfast burrito today. And you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to make a breakfast burrito. And you look in your kitchen and you don't have any of the ingredients you need. You can sit there and be like, oh my God, I should have gone to the store. I wish I had these ingredients. Oh, this is so frustrating. And then you're going to be hungry and pissed off. If you accept your reality, which is, I do not have the ingredients I need to make this breakfast burrito. You can DoorDash ingredients. You can walk to the store. You can ask a neighbor or a roommate. You suddenly have all of these options that are available to you to get what you want because you accepted your reality. I do or don't have this thing. So that happens all the time, right? Like I said earlier, sometimes it's a safety issue with a client. I have to accept the reality that my day now needs to shift and happen here. I need to focus here. That means the rest of my day will have, the consequences of that. That's okay. I am accepting that that is my reality, and suddenly I have options. I use it every day. And I actually, when we get to the end of this, I want to provide in the chat a 4-line mantra that I say to myself every single day that I breathe that helps me practice reality acceptance. So I'm going to give you all that at the end.
I love that. Please add that to the chat. And I want to make sure that you're actually able to add it to the chat. So you might just have to Slack it to
Oh, I can
me
send it to you.
and then I'll put it in the chat. Sorry, Zoom limitations, baby. We love it. That's the reality we're in. And so now we have options. Amazing. I would love to talk through, as our last note before we move into the Q&A, skills that are important for new hires. So going off of what you just shared about, the discipline, the resourcefulness, the reality acceptance as essential skills that you rely on, if you could wave a magic wand for every intern or new hire that you work with to give them one skill, what would it be and why?
Ooh, curiosity. Curiosity. I wave my wand and I give you all curiosity because curiosity builds knowledge. It builds resourcefulness, which I've now said 3 billion times, right? It builds mastery. It builds flexibility. Having the opportunity to ask yourself why or how, or ask that of others, huge win of being born a human, right? We could have been born geckos and that would have been fine just the same. But the ability to wonder and to be curious is so paramount to your success. It gives you opportunities to work with people on other teams, right? Like Brinton, for example. Brinton and I don't have a lot of crossover in our jobs at Handshake, but I am actively seeking ways to work with her because I'm curious about what she does. I'm curious about what kind of magic we can make together. It also, curiosity makes you really fun to work with. It makes you a fun coworker because people know, okay, cool. Brinton, maybe she doesn't know exactly what I do, but she's always willing to ask cool questions, not judge herself when she's asking these questions, to not judge others when they have questions. She can contribute to a brainstorm. She can find cool creative ways to solve a problem. Curiosity makes you fun to work with. It makes you better at your job, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say it makes you a happier person. Do I like green? Let me think about it. My couch is green, my phone case is green, my ring is green. I would say I like green, right? Asking yourself why doesn't always mean you're going to get a different answer. Sometimes it's really affirming, sometimes it's validating, and it just opens doors generally. So, curiosity for all.
I'm obsessed. Thank you so much. We have so many questions I want to give space to. Sorry to just dive right into the Q&A, but I want to make space for as many as we can. Um, I would love to kind of like consolidate some themes that I'm seeing, which is your own social life and self-care and preventing burnout. Do you find it hard to dedicate time to your self-care, and how do you prevent burnout from either or both careers? How do you address that?
What a good question. Okay. I actually in group therapy the other day created Miranda's OMG WTF burnout prevention and management guide. So I will share that with Brinton and she can share it with you all if you'd like. The answer to that for me is scheduling. I schedule my free time and my fun time. I have a tab on my Google Calendar that is social. That's what it's called. I schedule dinners with my friends. I schedule nothing time where I am literally just a blob in this space that I pay for. I schedule dance classes. I schedule my meditation time. Okay. I am talking everything goes in this Google Calendar because if that is the approach that works for me professionally, it's likely to work for me personally. And so far it has. So I schedule things big time. And in my OMG WTF prevention guide, should Brinton choose to share it, or if you connect with me offline here, I'm happy to show it to you. I am really big on warning signs. What does it look like when I start to develop chronic stress? Oh, I'm a little bit irritable. I realize I'm skipping that dance class I signed up for. I'm making excuses for why I'm not cooking my own food or getting to sleep on time. Okay, well, what do my signs look like for burnout? Oh, maybe I'm crying more. Maybe I'm noticing tension in my body, right? It all goes back to that self-awareness and asking yourself, what do I feel? What does this mean? So that when you start to see your own warning signs, you can be like, whoa, okay, I have strategies for this. So it really is just a lot of forethought, a lot of planning, and a lot of time spent being burnt out, which I hope to save you from partially, right? So start getting to know yourselves to the depths of your soul. It will help.
Yeah, and I think a follow-on question to that relates to some of the work that you have done and the growth that you have made for yourself as you've pursued these dual careers. You mentioned the importance of boundaries. You said boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. How did you go about implementing your boundaries in your role as a therapist, given the gravity of that role and, the difficulty of that job?
Mhm. The answer is curiosity. I asked my supervisors, oh, you've been in this job for 10 years? I've been in this job for 10 months. How are you doing this? This is tiring. I ask questions for people who've been doing it longer, from people who've been doing it longer. I ask my supervisors point blank, how much free time are you taking? At what time do you stop answering calls and texts from clients? Do we have a crisis line that I can let them know exists for when I'm out, right? And it's not even just when I'm like sitting on my meditation pillow. It's like I have other plans, right? I have a social life. So asking people who've done it for longer is what helped inform me. And also just learning from my mess ups, right? Um, Realizing that I might have taken a text or a call a little bit too late and then realizing what that does to my mental right before I go to bed, or what kind of dreams I have, right? Like it's very much trial and error, but also really lean on the people who've been in your industry longer than you have. They don't know it all, but they know a lot. And so please lean on them.
I love that. And I'm gonna consolidate two questions that I have here in the back end, which both kind of hinge on confidence and self-doubt. Which I know you talked about. You spent time burning out, you have learned from that and you have grown. I would love to hear, how did you become confident in the work that you do? How have you navigated self-doubt when it comes to what you wanted to do, what you're capable of, how to get yourself through the hard parts of your two careers?
Yeah. Confidence is such a beast, right? And I know that for people who are maybe naturally inclined to be confident, it feels like I was just born with this, right? And as a Leo and an extrovert, I thought that, right? Oh my God, I was just born with this confidence. Eh. As I got older and learned more about myself, I was like, oh, that was like a facade, right? I was acting. It isn't until now, I'm 31 years old, that I actually feel like a confident person. And on the reverse, people who don't feel confident, maybe it feels like it's always going to be this way. And why were you dealt this personality card? Also, right? Confidence can be worked on. It can be built. And the way that you do it, I think I mentioned this earlier, is by building mastery, small wins over time, creating goals that are attainable. I'm going to also share this. I don't have time to get into it with you all right now, but I just sent Brenton something called a SMART goal. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. It sounds super boring, but I promise it's going to change your life if you check into it. This is how I built confidence. I created goals that were attainable and that made sense for me so that I would hit them over time. When I was dealing with, I'm still dealing with depression, because does it ever go? You just learn coping skills, right? But when I was first dealing with depression back in 2019, which did excite me to become a therapist eventually, when I was going through that, I realized that I had these huge goals for myself that were totally attainable, but I wasn't chopping them up into smaller pieces. And so every day I just felt like, God, am I working at all towards my goals? And it let myself down over and over again. And it bred this suffering. And when I realized that I can actually make a million tiny goals and then feel so good about checking those off, it completely changed the way that I view my own confidence. And when I was in that space, I started adding to my to-do list, brush my teeth and make my bed, right? Brush my teeth and make my bed. Amazing. By 8:05 a.m., I've already done 2 things on my list. Sick. That builds mastery, right? That shows me that I can do things. So however big your goals are, and I do hope they're so big, my best advice is to chop them up into tiny, tiny, tiny little pieces and watch yourself kill it over time. And you're going to feel really confident when your wins are this big and your losses don't even get kept anymore. It's something you learn from and move forward.
Wow, I feel like I can take on the world after having chatted with you for this half hour. I know we are coming up on time. Um, I also just saw a question come in. That is not a question. I got a couple here actually. Folks are just talking about how inspiring you are, and they feel like they're learning so much, and they're really grateful for the things that you've shared today. So thank you for spending your time with us and your energy on us. There were questions that we weren't able to get to today. For everybody who has a question that was not answered, we are going to share these questions with Miranda for afterward in case you feel inspired to answer some questions on the Handshake feed. People are asking for your guide to preventing burnout, so we will absolutely want to share that after the fact. But we are so excited to bring you more events like this in the future, to chat with special folks like Miranda. I would love to wrap us up here. Just in the interest of time, scheduling is important and boundaries are important. I want to make sure that you can get onto all of the things in your day. But thank you to Miranda and to everybody here for sharing your journey, giving us your time, being so generous with your insights today. And if everybody in the audience has a moment, we would love it if you could take 30 seconds to fill out our feedback survey so that we can continue to bring you more events in the future like this. Know what you want to learn about the types of speakers you'd like to hear from. And that's it for today. Wow, my cup is filled. Thank you for being here.
Well,
And yeah,
thank
fantastic.
you all so much. And I dropped my LinkedIn in the chat as well. Please feel free to connect with me, ask me anything. Obviously, I've got those boundaries and that time scheduling bit like we all do. So I may not get back to you right away, but I would love to connect with you all. And just thanks for being here. I appreciate you.
Amazing. All right, goodbye, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.